With more leaks coming out every day that Injustice 3 is on the horizon, I thought I would make another guest character wish list for Injustice 3. I've done one before, so if you'd like to go back and watch that, you can. But that video is almost a year ago at this point, and my editing skills have come a long way since then. So I want to pick some new characters I think would be fun to see in the game. I'll start off with 11 characters that I think are likely to get into the game, and then I'll get into a couple that I would love to see in it, but not very likely at all. Also, I'm not repeating any guests I had in the last wishlist video, nor am I repeating any guests that were in the full predictions of the roster. And as a heads up, my next video is going to be a video where I react to your guest character wishlist. So let me know in the comments below who you want. I'll also be going over the ones from the previous video because I got a lot of comments about it. So if you already put yours there, you don't have to do it again if you don't want to. But without further ado, let's go. The first most selected character I have is Adam Eve from Invincible. We already had Omni-Man in Mortal Kombat 1, so I think another Invincible character is very likely. And while Mark is obviously the next best choice, I think Adam Eve could be a cool idea as well. She has a ton of moveset potential with her reality warping powers, and we've never had a female guest character before, so I think she'd be a good choice. I also think that she would fit this game much better than Mortal Kombat. The only reason I think she may not get into the game is partially because Mark is a much more well-known character, and because I feel like her powers would be very similar to all the Green Lanterns, which if you see my predictions, you know I would say at least two of them, if not more, will be in this new game. So I could see her sitting this one out. Next, we have Billy Butcher from The Boys. We had Homelander in Mortal Kombat 1, and clearly, NetherRealm works well with Amazon on their properties, so I think it would be cool to have someone else from The Boys be playable in this game. I could have chosen one of the other characters from the 7, but all their powers are very similar to other Justice League members who will likely already be playable in this game, and Billy Butcher is easily the most well-known and beloved character in the show, other than Homelander. His powers, I would say, is most similar to the Wrecker from Marvel. He has super strength, super durability, and a crowbar that can break just about anything. He also has laser eyes, which I think would be cool to work into his moveset as well. Ed Boon has talked before about possibly adding fatalities or some kind of finishing moves to Injustice, and if it were to happen, I think the famous panel of Billy Butcher breaking Homelander's head with a crowbar would be a perfect finisher for him. I could definitely see this happening, but the only reason it may not is because they want to save him for another Mortal Kombat game because he is brutal enough to be in that game, and they would want to save their money for that so that they can hire Carl Urban to play him as the voice actor. Next, we have another female guest character in Lara Croft. I've heard people say all the time that Lara Croft should be in Mortal Kombat, and I personally disagree. I'm not saying that she wouldn't be fun or I dislike the character, but I just see her fitting more in an Injustice game rather than a Mortal Kombat one. I'm not very well educated on the Tomb Raider series, so I could be wrong, but to the best of my knowledge of Lara Croft, she's not a killer. And the games themselves are not that bloody, so I think having her in this game would make a lot more sense. I also think her moveset could be pretty cool. I would imagine her as a mixture between Rambo from Mortal Kombat 11 and how Sonya Blade plays with her agility and special forces training. I would love it as a joke if they would give her the old PlayStation 1 model as a playable skin. They could make it banned in competitive play because the hitbox may look weird, but I would be okay with that. My fourth pick will be an underrated superhero movie, in my opinion, that being Hancock. I think Hancock is a very fun movie and a fun character overall. If you don't know, Hancock is a movie about a superhero named John Hancock, whose powers are very similar to Superman. However, what's funny about the movie is that he's kind of dumb and rude. He constantly gets mad at people and throws civilians in the air. He has a little bit too much to drink, and he often sleeps on the side of the road. But at the end of the day, he is a hero. I think this is a long shot, but having him be played by Will Smith would be pretty cool. I think that mixing a playstyle similar to Omni-Man from Mortal Kombat 1 with the drunken master abilities Bo Raicho has would be pretty cool. I also hope that they would give him the street clothes look that he has at the beginning of the movie. The sunglasses and beanie with the falcon on it is arguably far more iconic his actual super suit. I actually think this is decently likely because he's not owned by a major studio that's hard to work with like Disney, and he does have another movie coming out in the next couple of years. So his popularity will be on the rise as the movie comes out. Next, we have The Crow, and this is one that I think from a business standpoint would not be hard to get, but would also be kind of a poor decision. The Crow remake that came out a few years ago starring Bill Skarsgård was one of the worst superhero movies ever made, and since that, his popularity with the general public has done nothing but decline. So while adding the original version of The Crow into this game could be cool, I think most people would be disappointed. He has some cool abilities like an extreme healing factor, control over some birds, and the ability of flight from wings that he has from time to time. But aside from that, he's not that interesting, so I could see them passing him up. Although I don't think it'd be very difficult to get from a licensing standpoint, and that's why I'm keeping him on this list. Next, we have Shredder from the TMNT. I always see this guy brought up in discussions for Mortal Kombat guests. However, I think he would work better here. There's no doubt that in the comics, Shredder is extremely brutal and definitely could fit into that world, but most people only know him from the cartoons and movies. And in all of those, while he's very strong, he's never done anything to the extent that would qualify him for Mortal Kombat. So I think he would fit much better in this game, especially because he could give the Injustice franchise something they have not had yet, that being a villain guest character. With the exception of Scorpion and Sub-Zero, of course, I don't count them as true guest characters, simply because the same people who work on both games of Mortal Kombat and Injustice own those characters, so I don't think it's like that great a crossover, you know? Anyways, I think that you give the Shredder a very cool stance mechanic in this game, where he could switch between his claws on his arms and his katana blades. It could work similar to how Nightwing could switch between his sticks and his bow staff in the first game. The Shredder has had many iterations through the years, so it would be hard to choose on one in particular. However, Injustice 2 made up an entirely different version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for that game, with some inspiration coming from the more basic designs of the 90s movies. So I think going with the one from that movie would be best. Although personally, I love the Michael Bay Shredder from the first movie, so giving him an ultimate move where he transforms into the mech suit type character that was in that movie would be very cool. Next is Freddy Fazbear. I don't know much about the FNAF franchise, but I've seen loads of people bring up Springtrap as a character from Mortal Kombat, and while I think that's a great idea, I think it would be a better idea to go with the more well-known face of the franchise, that being Freddy instead. He could be a summon fighter, bringing out the other characters from his animatronic band to help him. You could also use pizzas as projectiles. I also think he could have some really cool skins, from his normal look to a weather design to even the Toy Freddy design. There's a lot of cool stuff that you could do with him. We never get stages for characters added as guests in these games, but if there was ever a time to do so, adding Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria would be awesome. And now for the verse of the day. Psalms 107 verse 1 says, "Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His loving devotion endures forever." Now from here on out, I have some wacky picks, and these are ones that I don't expect to get in the game, but it would just be fun to see them. Personally, I think that guest characters are at their best when they just bring the most random out-of-pocket characters possible into a franchise they don't belong in. Characters like Pac-Man in Street Fighter Cross Tekken and Salvatore Giancana in Fatal Fury City of the Wolves are characters that I can't help but laugh at and have a good time with every time I see them. The first of these picks is Major Payne. Major Payne is a movie about a veteran who has recently been dismissed after a lack of missions, who is sent to a school to teach a bunch of boys to be soldiers and win some kind of tournament. It's a funny and lighthearted take on something like Rambo. You could have tons of cool moves that you would implement into the game, such as the finger break, the clean out your colon move, and many more. I could see him playing as an up-close personal fighter, has a lot of mix-up and intense pressure. He can be sneaky at times, but his best fighting is hand-to-hand. Next, we have Happy Gilmore. I just think that would be really funny to see Happy Gilmore in this game. With the anger of a hockey player and the sports equivalent of a golfer in a fighting game, it would be very fun. I could see his club acting similar to the Joker's cane in Mortal Kombat 11. You could also give him a mechanic where he could actually change the club mid-combo it would change each move and how they function. For example, a driver could be your mids, a pitching wedge could be an overhead, and a putter could be your low attack. You also have a command grab where he grabs the opponent by the back of the throat and starts yanking him back and forth like he does with the caddy in the first movie, as well as giving him a parry where he pulls your shirt over your head and punches you in the face. He also has several different looks from the original movies to the second one where he looks a little bit older, and even a gold jacket variant that I think would make for amazing costumes. Now, if we're gonna have Adam Sandler in this game, you know we have to add his best friend Kevin James as well. And if I had to pick a character that he's played that would best fit for him in a fighting game, it would have to be Paul Blart Mall Cop. I know some people would be thinking of his character from Here Comes the Boom, who is an actual UFC fighter. However, I think that those moves would be pretty basic. It would really just be some normal punches and maybe a command grab here and there. Whereas Paul Blart's moveset would be a lot more fun. I could see him fighting similar to Striker, but have other moves like Boraicho, such as the belly flop. He could also have a move where his Segway that he drives around acts similar to the skateboard that Michelangelo has from TMNT in Injustice 2. He has tons of weapons between the first and second movies, like the foam launcher that could be a low attack, acts like ice, the taser that lasts for 5 seconds, and the non-lethal beanbag launcher. Next, I have Nacho Libre. I think it would be super funny to add him to this game. I could see him being a real grappler with tons of grabs and armored moves. A luchador is one of my favorite archetypes in a fighting game, and adding my favorite luchador in all of media aside from Bane would be really funny. You could give him a mechanic that acts similar to the cameo system in Mortal Kombat 1, where he calls out the skeleton for a couple of attacks. Or it could work similar to the stunt double move that Johnny Cage has in Mortal Kombat 11. He's probably the goofiest fighter I put on this list, but I just like that guest characters should be more fun when they can be, especially in games that are usually darker in tone. My second to last pick is the Four Horsemen from the movies Now You See Me. The Four Horsemen are a band of magicians who pull heists. They're really fun movies and cool characters altogether. They also have something really interesting and a 4-in-1 character. They could act similar to the TMNT where changing which horseman you are changes your moveset, but I don't think it would work as well here just because their hitboxes would be very different. So instead, I think that a summon fighter would be better. The main character that you would fight as is J. Daniel Atlas. He's your all-around type fighter who has tons of misdirections and parries for some fun moves. Then you would call out Merrick, who is a hypnotist, who has tons of grabs and parries that would act similar to hypnosis. Or if you want to give him a really busted move, you give him one where he switches your controls around. This has actually been done before with Havoc in Mortal Kombat 1. However, in that game, he switches his own controls to do more damage rather than the opponent's. But it still happened before, so I think it would be cool here. Next, you would have Jack Wilder. He would be your zoner fighter. He would have tons of cards, spoons, and even magic wands they would throw at the opponent. And as for the female character, I'm going to go with Henley Reeves. The first and second movies swap between her and another female character for reasons unknown to me. So when it came to choosing which one I think would be better, I think that she is the better option. For one, she's coming back for the third movie that comes out in November, and her specialty is being an escape artist, whereas the other girl doesn't really have a unique quirk about her other than just being a fangirl. So because of that, I think that she would be more interesting as a trap type character. As I said before, the third movie in the franchise comes out in November, and it's already been confirmed that the fourth movie is in the works as well, which I expect to come out unless the third one flops horribly. So with their popularity doing nothing but increasing over the next 5 to 6 years, I would say there's no better time for them to be added than in this game. The final character I have on my list is Rip Digman from the Comedy Central animated show Digman. Digman is a washed-up archaeologist who lost his wife over a decade ago and is now trying to get back in the game after his sidekick betrayed him. I won't spoil the rest of the show for you because you can literally watch the entire series in like 3 days, but needless to say, it's very fun, and an archaeologist archetype in a fighting game could be really fun. And since Indiana Jones is owned by Disney, we obviously can't use him. So I think adding Digman as the spoof character would be really fun. He could use tons of different weapons like his whip, his snakes, and call out his Eye friend Fleety to help him on the battlefield. Having Andy Samberg do the voice would also be a dream come true. The voice that he does for him is hilarious, but also because I would imagine that it's very hard to replicate, so getting an imposter would be very difficult. So that's my list. What do you think? Are my opinions based or do you disagree? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you all next time where I go over your Injustice 3 wishlist characters. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.